Hi, this is Pete May, president of GreenBiz Group, here on GreenBiz Studio. Delighted to have with us today Markus Pfanner, who's vice president of sustainability for Tetra Pak. And this is truly a global conversation. I'm sitting in California. I think Markus is an Austrian sitting in Switzerland right now, working for a company that originated in Sweden, in an interview arranged by one of his colleagues in Italy. But at the end of the day, talking about packaging, which is obviously a global issue. Markus, maybe just to start, I think most people are outside of specific B2B realm may not know a lot about who Tetra Pak is. So tell us about who Tetra Pak is.
Sure. Thanks, Pete, for that. Thanks for having me. Well, Tetra Pak, we are a world-leading food packaging and processing company with more than 25,000 employees globally, and serving basically food and beverage customers in over 160 countries. And we may be best known and recognized for our carton packages, most commonly used for products like chicken broth, juices, plant-based drinks like coconut waters, as an example. And Tetra Pak introduced the aseptic technology more than 6 decades ago. Aseptic technology basically allows for foods to keep the nutritional value and to be stored at room temperature for a very long time. And this reduces, of course, the need for chilled, energy-intense distribution and minimizes food waste.
Yeah, interesting. So a lot of people, when we get to packaging, think based on the global imperative around climate change, just says we don't need packaging. We should just get rid of packaging. And then obviously, as you get into it, we live in a practical world. Products solve certain needs. But tell us a little bit about your sense of circular packaging initiatives, how that fits into to the broader picture around carbon reduction and addressing climate change.
Sure. Well, let me start by saying that only by looking at the circular economy models through the climate lens, I think we can decarbonize materials fast enough to protect our planet. In June 2020, we, Tetra Pak, have committed to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions in our own operations by 2030, while setting ourselves a net zero ambition across the full value chain by 2050. Now, to give you a bit of a snapshot where we are on this journey, back in 2010, we set the climate goal to cap our 2020 impact across the full value chain at 2010 levels, while growing, of course, the business. And this has helped us basically to save 12 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions, getting ahead of the target and also demonstrating that decoupling of growth and climate impact is possible. I think that was a big step further.
Yeah. So what do you say to, obviously given our climate imperatives, people say that's great, but why 2050? What can we do to accelerate that? What can we do to bring that forward so that we're not aiming for 2050, but why not set that goal at 2030, 2035, whatever that is?
Yes. Well, I think to be ambitious is also reflected in our ambition, net zero in our own operations already by 2030, as you say. And we are addressing 4 key areas to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions overall. First of all, lowering the energy-related emissions. If you look at the US as an example, all factories and offices in the US are already 100% at renewable electricity. Partnering secondly then as well with suppliers and other stakeholders along the value chain to significantly reduce the carbon footprint. Another important action is to accelerate the development of our low carbon circular packaging and also equipment solutions, helping also our customers reduce their emission targets. Then also not to forget developing sustainable recycling value chains. And this is really a big collaboration here, broad collaboration with customers, waste management companies, recyclers, municipalities, NGOs, industry associations, and equipment suppliers. So really broad collaboration.
Well, that's really interesting, and that's obviously something that we talk about a lot, is the need to bring different stakeholders to the table. Can you give me an example of a project or some partnerships with a customer, with an NGO that you're working on to help move that along faster?
Yeah, maybe let me start by saying that, recyclability is really a fundamental requirement for packaging. And today, carton packages by Tetra Pak are collected and recycled where waste management and recycling infrastructure is in place. So the household access in the US is more than 60% and in Canada more than 90%. The recovered materials can be transformed into a wide range of new products. And on this regard, we are working in the US and in Canada to continue growing the access with the partners there. We are also joining forces with additional recyclers, traditional recyclers like paper mills, and also we are Carton Council. The Carton Council, we are among the founding members of the recycling partnership, uniting over 40 leading companies to catalyze basically improvement in this area. And maybe further to your question about leveraging collaborations with customers as well here. A great example, I think, of this is the work done with Matriarch Foods. One, customer that we helped last year to launch vegetable broth in cartons obtained by upcycling vegetable farm surplus and fresh cut remnants that would otherwise be wasted. And this way, each package is diverting basically approximately 1 pound of waste from landfills and also in reducing greenhouse gases by approximately 2.9 pounds. And on the recycling side, collection recycling side, I mentioned now the Carton Council and the recycling partnership, but we are also continuously working to advance new initiatives, not just locally, but also globally. And on this regard, worth mentioning probably also the Consumer Goods Forum, Plastic Waste Coalition of Action that we are part of towards our vision of no plastic waste in the environment.
Yeah, great. Well, my last question is just looking forward. If we get this right, if circular packaging becomes real and achieves scale, what does your sector look like in 5 or 10 years? If we get this right in dealing with packaging and solving for climate change?
Yeah, good question. I think already today, if we started today, Tetra Pak cartons are recyclable and have a lower carbon footprint than most alternatives, as studies have shown. But we know we can do better and we will do better. We need to take a holistic environmental approach because we cannot just recycle our way out of the climate crisis. And materials cause more CO2 emissions than global aviation. And this is pre-COVID. So sustainable food packaging can indeed help mitigate climate change and address other environmental concerns while feeding a growing population. And at Tetra Pak, we are already on this journey, aiming basically at creating cartons that are fully made of renewable and recycled materials that are responsibly sourced while contributing to carbon neutral production and distribution. Convenience and safety, of course, are other key elements in this, and also critical is the recycling in practice and at scale. All of this also to support a resilient food system.
Yeah, that's great. And again, thanks for highlighting just the scale of the challenge and dealing with materials and packaging. Markus Pfanner from Tetra Pak, it's going to be interesting to watch you over the next few years to see how your sector evolves, and good luck with your initiatives. Thanks for joining us on Studio today.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.